Last time, on Talora Tales, our heroes, now known as the Ember Four, find themselves up in the mountains west of Yevaloon, where they are on the hunt of dispatching a troublesome group of kobolds. Using their child scout Ava, they have found themselves staring down at the entrance to a cave that they suspect that their target lies in. After a brief amount of investigation and sending Quinn into the actual depths of the cave, they discover that the kobolds are aware of their approach and are more than likely planning some sort of trap for our heroes as they move through the main entrance. Deciding not to face check this trap, our heroes then go around the mountain looking for a separate way into this underground abode, eventually finding a back way in, which is a rather slim crevice. Our heroes make it about 15-20 feet into the cave before they are spotted, discovered, and then set upon by the large swarm of kobolds living in this cavern. A battle ensues in which our heroes valiantly defend a single small corner of a rather large cave system, where Braynoon, the only real melee character besides kind of sort of Sven, holds off against the ginormous, strange abomination of this draconic hound that the villagers had mistaken for being a living, breathing dragon. There is a few close calls, a few good and bad decisions made, but eventually our heroes do come out victorious as Braynoon slays the beast, shattering its jaw from its mouth, and then scattering the rather timid kobolds off into the darkness around them. After exploring this little hideout that the kobolds had established, they find a hoard of a fair amount of valuables. It's in the ballpark of around 750 gold pieces, with everything kind of summed up. Our heroes collect all of these things, throw them on Thomas's magical disc, and then depart this cave. It's a 2-day trek back to Yevaloon, or at least the outskirts of Yevaloon, as our heroes kind of contemplate over what had happened, probably a bit more pleased with how this contract went compared to their previous one, and getting closer and closer to the scene in which they had burned about 20 or 30 kobolds alive a few days prior. As you all are descending down from the mountainside and getting into more of the rolling hills that is the valley of the elven people, you cross over that creek that signifies the border between the council's lands and the nomadic lands. Ava kind of seems a little bit more comfortable, but also nervous. It's very clear just from various bits of dialogue or things that she's offered up since the encounter in the caves that she's not fully prepared to face Elwar, who is somewhat a almost like fill-in grandfather figure for her at this point, who certainly has some sort of nagging to throw her way. But you would cross over the creek and move through the cornfields that you had previously defended, coming upon that farmstead that Lensa had given her life to defend, is probably not the correct term, but we'll go with. Braynoon, and Quinn, both give me persuasion checks real quick.
Oh, right.
16.
12.
Okay. Quinn, as you're kind of moving through your own thoughts, kind of trying to prepare for what might come to returning to Yevaloon, Ava comes up to your side, and she's moved with you a lot of the time while traveling, kind of almost just migrating to the somewhat slim camaraderie that you two have built up. But now that you've crossed the creek and you're actually on the property of Lensa, she, nervously stands beside you, clearly is about to speak up before kind of like nudging you with her shoulder, and Quinn, I have a favor.
I'm listening.
I've been thinking about it since we left, and Lensa was the person, the bitch that my father gave his life for, and I feel I feel somewhat wrong leaving her where she is. I think I want to bury her. Or, I guess, what's left of her.
Okay. I can help you do that.
Alright, yeah, I guess that's it. Where do you bury people?
So what? Say that again?
Where do we bury her?
Does Yevaloon have a graveyard or a cemetery?
I think there's a shrine, I think, over, I think on the eastern side of town, but, I don't go. My father was not, yeah, he didn't really believe in that.
Well, we can check with them, or we can keep it simple and just bury her somewhere on the farm where I assume she was happiest.
Yeah, uh, yeah, let's find a good spot, I guess.
Okay.
So, as you all are returning back to the farm, Quinn, unless otherwise, Ava would return to the burned down husk of the barn, kind of approaching the northern side of it, where Lensa had kind of closed the door and then fallen from the kobold attack. Her body is intact, in the form of you can identify that it is hers, kind of leaned up against the charred remains of the building, but just like touching it or kind of maneuvering it in any way causes some of the burnt out skin to kind of flake and fall into itself, or the actual structure to kind of fail and crumble. So Ava tries to move it and then quickly decides that she does not know how to do this.
So I will go into the house and look for bedding,
Okay.
and if I could find a quilt or sheet that can sort of be worked underneath the remains and then sort of scoop her up in it.
hmm Yeah, you could easily go into the farmhouse, which is appeared to be undisturbed except for the disturbance that you all had caused the other night. You would notice again that when you go into that kind of like back bedroom chamber that they had, that the little hidden compartment where things have been stored had been taken out and it's just kind of been left open. But you'd be able to take the blankets and the sheets and whatever bedding you might think is necessary off the bed and bring that outside.
So we'll just sort of slide that underneath and then fold it over.
Wait,
Oh,
before you wrap her up, and I take the silver ring that I had found, and I slide it on her ring finger. She probably would have wanted to wear this.
Is that her wedding ring?
I think it was from someone she loved.
Okay. But Ava would assist in getting it all kind of bundled up, and then just starts like idly looking around, uh, maybe like a clearing, or probably not in the pigsty. uh, um, Flowers are nice, I guess.
I have one statement, but I also have one question that I forgot to ask earlier.
Mhm.
When we were in the cave, I would have been searching it for any remains of her son, because if I remember, he was taken.
Mhm.
I don't know if I found anything, but
We didn't go over this at the time, but I will
Right.
retroactively give you this. where you had found the treasure hoard in that kind of main chamber, and there was that almost somewhat like apparent like shrine set up over that acid pool in that main room. There were clearly skeletal remains and fresh bodies kind of in that pool that was slowly being eaten away. And even with the
Okay.
damage that had been done to it, you probably could assume that's where he would have ended up.
Gotcha. Okay. In that case, during this point, I'd kind of getting the impression of what's happening if it wasn't previously communicated. Do we know where her husband was interred?
Oh, well, he was taken with my father. I don't know where they buried him. I should probably know that.
Call it intuition, but I think she would prefer to be buried here.
It seemed she had little love for this place, but I suspect she had more love for her husband. And I know from my experience I'd prefer to be buried next to my wife.
Hey, Braynon. I'll explain later, but I don't think she wants to be next to him. Just trust me.
Well, let's find I don't know, just find a spot. Over there looks good, and she just like points to a kind of plain patch near the house.
Let's just say the ring wasn't the only thing I found in her bedroom.
Anyway, let's move on.
So as the I guess whoever is involved goes through the process of digging the grave and then laying Lensa to rest, Ava would take a few moments to kind of just silently ponder over the now sacred place, potentially. Doesn't really say anything, but is clearly kind of thinking through various emotions for just kind of, all right, well, let's go see how twisted up Elwar is, shall we?
I am definitely ready to go.
Oh, we have horses now, right? Can I ride one of the horses?
Do
Works
the
for me.
horses have saddles? Or are they just workhorses?
I think I will say that Lensa was a giving enough individual that they'd have like kind of
Okay.
simplistic saddles.
Okay. Yeah, or they burned up with the barn. Yeah. Transfer the treasure to one of the horses as best we can, and then she is welcome to ride the other one.
For those of you who are observant and/or care, you would notice that Ava has now put on I guess, like the golden chain with a golden tooth on it that Thomas had helped her find. That's now around her neck, and thankfully her green hood has been replenished due to Braynoon's charity. But as you all find your horses who have been, I imagine you guys like tied them up before leaving, so for 4 days they've just been eating a circle in the grass. So they don't look the happiest, but as they are now freed from their small prison, you all are not too far from the actual town itself. Is there any certain approach that you are doing when returning to town?
Yeah, I mean, walking in.
So as you all come back to the town of Yevaloon, which is, again, a fairly modest settlement, it's been previously mentioned here and there that it used to be slightly larger. It used to extend south past the creek, but has now been kind of cut back due to the Glade Agreement. As you are returning to the more like town square center where most of the populace has kind of been pulled into to be a little bit more protective, you would spot the gentleman that you interacted with at the tavern, which I don't think you ever got his name, but you did mention starting some sort of watch, because that might be useful given the situation. He would be standing watch at the end of town, very vigilantly waiting to see if anything approaches, and he would spot you all kind of raise an arm. He's holding a rather plain-looking sword that's definitely not been cared for properly for quite some time, but at least it's something, and doesn't initially make any motion to like run up and approach you, but he spots, because I'm imagining there's no fucking way to hide this thing, the giant abomination head that Braynoon has taken from the beast. And before you all can even like get within speaking distance, he turns and starts running into town, clearly beginning to start up a cry that is getting a fair bit of attention. No reaction to that, I suppose.
We're heroes.
Yay!
So as
I think this means we get to eat for free.
So as our heroes stride into town, you would see that a lot of the buildings that have been kind of double occupied at this point, as various residences allowed, their neighbors and whatnot to hide themselves from the kobold threat, start pouring out into this little main area. And the populace of this town probably doesn't exceed 100. It's not incredibly dense, but it's a fair enough people to kind of fill the square. And as you all are getting closer and closer to this small cluster of buildings, you'd eventually see Elwar coming out of his main residence in that little, like, small, almost like porch podium thing that he has outside of his front door. And there is a mixture of, like, relief and just tiredness on his face. It's very clear, even when you interacted with him a few days prior, that he was just like worn to the bone and big bags under his eyes. But now at least he seems somewhat gleeful about your return, kind of spotting the monstrous head, I'm assuming like strapped to the horse or some sort, and would give you all kind of a wave. As it's a pretty big spectrum of people kind of coming up and like oohing and ahhing at the various things that you're carrying. I also can't imagine that you can hide all of your valuables out of sight, so there's a few different comments and conversations starting up on that, but the general, I guess, understanding is that they're kind of letting you approach Elwar, who is staying where he is at.
I think Sven would be lapping up the attention and just waving, yes, you're welcome, you're welcome.
So once you all come up to more of a approachable distance from Elwar, he looks you all over, and then I guess more or less directs his attention at Braynoon, who is again kind of the somewhat propped up leader of this ragtag group. And there is a moment where he kind of finds Ava on the horse and gives her like a little bit of a scrunched eye, but nothing too severe. But well, it seems that you were quite successful. I cannot express my gratitude. This is it just truly calls for a celebration. But I could use some rest. I don't know about you.
Rest would be quite appreciated at this point in time. We weren't successful in slaying all of the kobolds. However, this, and I'll motion to the head on the horse, was the driving force behind them. I suspect any trouble they give from here out will be minor, if at all.
I mean, we killed like 40 of them. There couldn't have been too many left. It was a lot. It was a kobold massacre.
There was a dragon? That's quite the ordeal.
More of a dragon kind.
Hey, we're not entirely sure what it is exactly, but not quite a dragon. We intend to take this back to learn more about it, and if there's any other concerns that you should be concerned with, we'll send a missive of that. But the immediate threat seems to have been dealt with.
I'd noticed that Lensa is not with you.
She was sadly killed in an assault on her farm shortly after we arrived there. Though it was her plan that allowed us to significantly weaken their forces, allowing us to assault them in their home. She's been buried on their homestead.
As you mentioned Lensa's passing, you actually watch Elwar like physically shrink a little bit, like his shoulders pull in, his like posture kind of weakens. There's like this moment of frailty in this rather older gentleman, and he kind of like knowingly nods and works through the brief kind of swell and oh, we had spotted the plume of smoke, and I feared the worst, but oh, that poor woman, well, at least I hope that she's in a more peaceful place now.
Did you happen to know a man named Gelvek?
Yes, did Lensa tell you about him?
Well, I mean, I don't mean to pry, but we were gathering up whatever was around to bury with her that may have been special, and there was just a small letter from a man named Gelvek.
But I think we should bring this conversation inside.
Okay.
I don't have accommodations for heroes, but at least it's a roof. Kind of gesturing back at the residents behind him.
It looks heroic to me. You should see where we normally sleep. I have to sleep in a room with all of them.
As he like goes and turns to open the door, he like pauses for a moment, looks over his shoulder at Ava, goes, "Come on, Ava." He just like very cautiously like slips off the horse, kind of waiting for some sort of tongue lashing to be doled out as she gently makes her way inside. Well, I imagine you all would enter.
Yeah, tie up the horses, go inside.
Although I would say that there are plenty of the youthful men of this town that are eager to tie up the horses of the prevailing heroes. So, yes, as you all are brought back into the landlord's residence, as previously described, it is rather bare and incredibly modest. There's a lot of open space, but it's distinctly lacking any sort of furnishing or furniture or decoration. But he would again lead you back into that kitchen area where there's at least seats and a table to kind of rest on, and he would start pulling down what he has as a selection of drinks, laying it out on the table. Ava would try and reach for a cup and then get her hand smacked away. But at one point, when everyone's kind of settled, Elwar would look more at you, Thomas, and please tell me more about what you found, sir.
Oh, it was just a brief note saying, I hope everything's going well with you and Gelvek. It was really nothing more than that.
Well, I don't know if it really concerns all of you, but he is a bit of a black sheep from our town. He's been gone for quite some time. I don't know if you need to know more, but him and Lensa were involved.
Oh, well, I mean, if you know where he's at, maybe if we cross him on our travels, we could let him know what happened to Lensa.
If the thread brings you together, I suppose so, but
it brought us to you.
Yes, thank the fates. I was worried that when I saw the smoke and there was no return, that you would all have been taken. I'm very glad that you were successful.
That's because our job was only half done at that point.
I know that we...
You should have seen Braynoon. He took it. Was it your hammer or your axe? I don't even remember. You popped him out of it. He swung it, and it just, bah, and it went poof, and the thing just went, and
as he's doing that, I like fully back him up with all the appropriate facial expressions.
Mm-hmm. Thomas, give me a performance with advantage.
Let's see, what is my +0?
Sounds about right.
I got a 3, And a natural 20.
So, Thomas, as you are beginning to explain the heroics of Braynoon and the rest of the party, you kind of feel yourself faltering a little bit as the rest of the group isn't fully backing you up, kind of feeling like you've been put on the spot. But then you glance back and you see Quinn, like, just like fully selling every single point of exemplary performance that you were trying to describe, and emboldened by this backing up of your companion, you begin to almost find this natural flow of going beat by beat, selling this, not even selling, telling the heroic tale of your victory over this monstrous creature, Elwar, who.
Can I flavor it too with as I'm going, I drop in a prestidigitation to add like some sound effects to it.
Certainly. But as everything's kind of coming to a close, even though Elwar is basically dead, just like walking like a zombie at this point, there is this like bit of like almost mystified sparkling in his eyes as this like childlike wonder has been reignited, and he's just, "Well, you are truly splendid. I could not have asked for a better company to respond, but can I fill out some sort of survey?"
I mean, I don't know, Brandon, do we have surveys?
I can't,
Just
can't
write a
say it's been-
letter to the Ember Boar and
address it directly to Camus.
Gladly, I'll write you a letter. I'll have it before you leave, so you can hand it over personally.
You should probably seal it though, because he doesn't seem like he trusts too many people, and he might just think we wrote something nice about ourselves.
Oh, well, you all would never do something like that, certainly.
I'd turn and look directly at Sven.
Yeah, my eyes kind of dart between Sven and Quinn.
No, of course not. All of my recommendations were earned.
Quick, I just want to know, Thomas, in your tales, how much was Ava's involvement highlighted?
I would have spun everyone to be. I didn't have enough time to really get into it, but I would have
Right, yeah.
included everyone's, and I would have definitely included Ava.
Ava did get the killing blow on the dragon.
Yeah.
At the end of it all, I would meet eyes with Elwar. Without Ava's assistance, our success would have been significantly diminished.
He kind of looks over at the young girl, who kind of like is still waiting for like the other foot to fall, like just kind of in this like constantly tense state, and they make a little bit of eye contact before he returns back to you. She's a free spirit. I wanted to keep her safe because her father was very he was a good man. I'm sorry, Ava, but it sounds like you certainly proved your worth. Ava kind of like relaxes a little bit, like suspicious, like this might be some sort of trap. Like, yeah, they couldn't have done it without me. But I think I'm gonna be going with them to Messidore to see Passover. It'll be exciting. Elwar kind of begins to nod. A bit of his like somberness kind of coming back. Like, I was gonna invite you to stay here if you wanted, since but if you want to leave, then certainly that is your.
Ava, I mean, you're welcome to go wherever you like, but they celebrate Passover here too, and the green cloak looks really splendid on you.
Ava kind of like looks up at Elwar and then over to Thomas and like all of you, and
I mean, certainly Elwar would have a space for you in the guard here, wouldn't he? I mean, it's just a small request from us. I know her father would have wanted that. You should have seen her with the bow. It was a close call at who even killed that thing. I mean, the arrow hit it right as the hammer hit it, so You would be lucky to have her.
There is this like silent conversation kind of taking place as Elwar kind of like raises a brow and Ava looks around, and she would kind of look at all of you besides Sven, because fuck Sven, and kind of try to judge like what your reaction would be to what her decision might be. Like again, like looking in your eyes and kind of waiting for some sort of silent response.
I am careful not to indicate anything.
Yep.
Wonderful.
Entirely
We,
her decision.
We are going back though. We're not going to stay here to celebrate in this little dump. Just to be clear.
Well, I don't think I don't think Yevaloon is big enough for me. I think I haven't seen Messidore in a while, and I don't really want to stay here. No offense, Elwa. Yes, I understand, young one. But at least we can send you all off with some sort of joy, if you all at least lend us maybe in the morning tomorrow some food and ale and song, and send you back to Messidore with high spirits.
That sounds great. It's been a long time since I've had real food.
It's been like 4 days.
That's a long time.
It's
Maybe
like-
for you living on a ship, eating whatever hardtack and salted fish, but I'm used to a cafeteria that was warm every night. We were allowed fires to warm it.
Ava kind of looks over. It's like, the cafeteria.
Oh, it's a wonderful place. It's where you can get a whole bunch of different kinds of food, and it's not really free, but it seems like it's free because you don't pay on the spot. It's arranged beforehand, but you get to eat 3 meals a day, and it's warm, and you have choices.
So it's the kitchen?
Well, there's a kitchen behind the cafeteria. The cafeteria is more of a place where they serve it to you, and it's a long line, and you can pick the food that you want, and then you sit with the people that you want. And usually, I didn't get to sit with anybody unless Finn was there. But yeah,
I'd like to see a cafeteria.
all right, we'll find one then.
Oh, we're leaving tomorrow, yes? She kind of sits there and starts like, we're gonna catch the Gold Blossom Parade.
I've never heard
Whatever
of it.
that is.
Again, I think maybe Braynoon and Quinn would probably be somewhat familiar with this. You both want to roll me a history check?
I almost just rolled a d12. Didn't matter, I rolled an 8 anyway. History. Oh, it's still an 11.
Okay.
7.
7. Damn, boys. As both of you were kind of like, oh yeah, the gold thing, yeah. Ava's like, it's the long what do you call them? Wagon, caravan, train trails. But they carry the flowers from the valley over to Messidore for the Passover. And it stretches on for the whole road. You can look from the east and to the west, and it's just cart after cart after cart after cart. It's very exciting. And then all sorts of like musicians and performers and interesting people. They travel with it, and then they follow the flowers to the coast. It's very.
Shops to buy.
Oh yeah. The
And
people will
treats,
sell
like,
like
what-
sweets and treats and candies, and it's oh.
God, it's gonna be so much fun.
Oh, it's gonna be. Oh, I forgot. Yes. Elwar, at this point, kind of like looks over at Braynoon and is like, if you all want to find accommodations, Master, did I ever get your last name, sir? I'm sorry if I've forgotten.
Drudernath.
Could I, speak with you in private, if you would be so kind?
I'll just kind of look around at the group just in case they have any complaints or anything they want to say.
Where was the wine?
If you head over to the tavern, sir, I'm sure that they'll have plenty for you to indulge in.
Thomas, a celebration.
Absolutely. I even feel like dancing a little bit. Do you dance, Ava?
Yeah, and I can drink, right?
Oh, you're older than me, so yes.
I like you, Thomas.
I like me too. And you.
So Sven, Ava, and Thomas would go to the tavern to celebrate.
Quinn, are you coming? Of course you are.
Yeah, okay.
So as the majority of our merry band make their way outside of the room, leaving Braynoon and Elwar in the kitchen, he would take a seat, and he's been in this very, like almost like presentational kind of mood, trying to fill the role of like being the authority figure, the landlord, the vocal aspect of the community. But now he sits down and starts embodying more of like the tired old man that he really is. Sir, I can't even begin to describe the debt that I owe you. This has been a very harrowing time indeed, and though I appreciate what you have done, I fear that I don't even know if it's truly going to help our situation. I think I discussed this when you first arrived, that our payment is not quite what I wish it was. It's the town is very much upside down, financially, not physically. I feel ashamed having to I know that you found a fair amount of wealth up there, and I know not all of it is our town's. But the community here, they will fail if I can't find some way to help move our debt. If you could maybe spare some of it, I'm sorry. This is very.
I kind of just put my hand up and interrupt him, and I already have intention to speak with my companions to see that, if nothing else, there are people who have been put out of their homesteads, people who have lost livestock and crops and the like.
Now we have a burned barn. Just put it up 2 summers ago.
And so I do not have any intention of taking all we found with us. I, if nothing else, out of my share, will be returning some to this community. And then I'm actually going to reach into a pouch on my belt and pull out my guild sigil and place it on the table between us. I don't know if you recognize this. On top of being a member of the League of Obsidian Warriors, I also happen to be a member of a rather prominent merchant and craftsman guild. And there are certain things that I've been noting while I've been here that may be of interest to some that might want to invest in your community. And I intend to bring those back and report those. I understand that the agreement that was made that you likely had little to no say in, that gave away a good chunk of your land has harmed you, and what's done is done. That can't be changed, but I think there's more value here than most people would think, and I'll do what I can to see if I can't get another couple people to come and maybe see what I've seen.
As you go through your explanation, you see like kind of the almost like fidgety, nervous energy of having to put himself in this position kind of fades, and then there's this like little tremble, this like old man tremble before you like see his quick like, I I I know that dwarves are known for their wisdom, sir, and you truly you embody it fully. I've been our representative. He after the agreement, he refuses to lower our taxes, and our output has been half of what it used to be. And I I don't know what to say. I'm sorry. I'm very It you truly are a. I'll stop. I'm very sorry.
There will be new responsibilities thrust upon you. That's if Yavaloon's going to survive, Yavaloon's going to have to change. And change is hard for most people, all people. And you are going to have to embody that change more than anyone. That's... I'm sure you're aware. I've only been here a short time. The level of respect you hold in this community isn't the greatest from what I've observed, and it's going to be your responsibility to fix that.
I wasn't supposed to be a landlord. This is my brother's town before me, and I'm not very good at it, I find. But
I wasn't supposed to lead this group either, so
I'm here and I'm committed. Whether it fails or succeeds, I'm not letting it slip away. And whatever opportunity that you provide, I will take full advantage, sir. I promise you, I will.
Well, I do believe there's going to be a celebration, and it'd be good for you to be seen out of this. And just kind of motion around.
I guess I will have a good night's sleep for the first time in quite some time, and I will celebrate with you all in the morning then.
Get some rest. You need it. You deserve it.
As he gets
We'll
up, he
see you in the morning.
moves to the other side of the table and kind of reaches down and grabs your hand in both of his, and just like that silent, deep appreciation of just like gently giving you that firm handshake. And yeah, good man, sir, good man. And then he turns to head out the door.
Yep, yeah, I'll turn around, walk out, rejoin the group.
So meanwhile, at the tavern, shall I say it's a fair assumption that Sven is probably indulging in whatever opportunities are presented to him, with Thomas and Quinn having varying degrees of this energy?
You know, body shots, long pours of just like, you know, that was a harrowing experience, and without Sven's usual comforts, he turns to what's available. Trying to make it a party with everyone happy, you know, kind of probably not the best time, but trying.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So, Quinn and Thomas, how are you going about this kind of winding down afternoon, evening, or I guess winding up, depending on how effective Sven is?
Yeah, I mean, I'll certainly have more than my one standard glass of wine. I might even indulge in a fruity drink or two after that. Probably past the point of tipsy. If there's music and dancing, I want to dance with Ava.
Okay. And Quinn?
So I'm not I'm participating enough to keep from bringing the mood down and keep anybody from doing that thing of like, hey, come on.
Come join the party, man.
But that's kind of where it begins and ends for right now. Just kind of seem tired. Also, still very much injured, but
You have had 2 long rests at this point, so, but yeah, I appreciate the
Or, let's
thematics
say
of,
then.
yeah. Got a nice
There's
bruise.
HP.
Yeah.
There's HP damage, and then there's just damage.
So
Yeah,
then,
well,
and somewhere along the line, just so ever so tipsy. Quinn, you should probably have learned about battle from what they taught us, because I haven't been hit yet.
I slap him across the face.
Oh,
And, with a smile on my face, I smack him. I say, "What was that?"
touche.
So as the festivities kind of continue through the afternoon, this is the pre-game to what tomorrow might bring. Ava, who is very much finding herself kind of relaxing, or at least letting loose since the kind of emotional tornado that has come through this town, is desperately trying to appear cooler than she is, as she has been given a tankard of ale, and every so often, whenever like people aren't looking, she'll like go take a sip and just.
Do I notice her? Do I notice her grimacing when she drinks
Oh
it?
yeah, yeah.
Are you gonna prestidigitate her ale?
I can change it to her, right?
Yeah.
Ava, what's your favorite thing in the world to drink?
Actually, really like milk.
With cocoa? Because that's the way I like it.
What's cocoa?
Oh my god. Okay, watch. Bing! Like I make the bing sound. Totally not necessary. Okay. That's one of the benefits of being friends with one of the world's greatest magicians. Now try it.
Kind of like looks down at her mug very questionably, and then like as it like hits her lips and like actually swallows, she's expecting the like really pungent ale taste, but then gets like lukewarm, like room temperature milk, and
Chocolate milk.
why aren't you selling this? Why are you? This is wonderful! And then starts like trying to down the thing as she is now gulping down.
Relax. It's very much alcoholic, so you don't want to drink too much too quick, or maybe you do, but I find that it's best if you don't drink too much too quick, because then you end up like
Thomas, stop talking. Come on! And then she like starts bringing you into more of the festivities and fully indulging in her now cocoa flavored ale, and would keep asking for refreshments whenever you offer it. Eventually, after hours of this brain, whenever you interject and include yourself in this chaos, the townsfolk, who also have been kind of living on this edge of tension for quite some time, finally feel that like that weight and that exhaustion like fully set in, and they turn in for almost like an early afternoon, even though they clearly are incredibly pleased with your efforts. They're tired and they're ready for this to be over. So it's maybe around like maybe 8 when everyone's already kind of like heading home or stumbling out the door or asleep at the bar, as you all have had your fill of victory laps.
Raynun,
Thomas?
I wrote a poem for you too.
Oh.
But as per usual, I will have my squire read it for me.
What kind of state is Sven in at the moment?
So here's my question: how much alcohol was provided?
As much as you can consume.
Okay, fantastic. So we've been at this for like 4 hours. Okay, I believe he would be face first on the bar. One hand would have a bottle still in it, but there's not a lot of movement coming from that body, other than a slide just.
Okay, well, he's not in any condition to orate, so I'll have to do it. All right. There once was a dwarf named Raynun, whose temper was hot as the sun. He killed a dragon with his hammer, became a hero with much glamour, but he still grumbled and scowled for fun.
There is a half smile and just a very slight bark of a chuckle, and thank you, Thomas. That is appreciated. Perhaps you should find Sven a bed for him and yourself.
Trust me, why do you think I learned that particular spell? I've had to move him on more than one occasion. I'm quite adept at this point.
Are you capable of casting it in your current state?
I'll have you know that I am easily the smartest wizard in at least this room right now. So yes, I am. I think.
Thomas, give me a constitution check.
I mean, it could be worse. It was a 6 plus my modifier, which is a constitution check. So that's a 9.
Going by the 10 DC, that's usually your concentration, I would say that you would find it incredibly difficult to focus long enough to get your spell to actually take effect. Unless you want to use a port.
I already rolled.
As you all are interjecting and the poem is shared, Ava, who has found a position under one of the tables, you would just hear a little hiccup and then just grumbling. Yeah.
After watching Thomas fail to cast his spell, I will just walk over to the bar and like fireman's carry Sven to whatever room.
I'd like to think the dragon kinds have like elongated serpent tongues that's just like hanging out of like one side of his mouth.
That's okay, the head's on the backside, so. And given the height difference, it's probably about waist right now, so.
But any other moments of festivities before everyone heads to bed?
I guess I need to make sure that Ava gets somewhere.
Uh-huh.
And get a tankard of water and put next to wherever she's sleeping.
Okay. She would very enthusiastically begin retelling the tale of your group's heroics with her included. And each time she gets like maybe a quarter of the way through, she forgets and starts repeating. So you hear the burning of the barn story about 4 or 5 times as you are like getting her up and getting a tankard of water and leading her upstairs before she just kind of like slumps over in the bed that you give her and passes out.
I assume I'm the only dwarf here right now, or is there any dwarven villagers?
It seems you're the only dwarf in town.
Okay. Then I assume, kind of once everyone's dispersed, that Brainun is just sitting there with an ale, just enjoying the quiet.
So, as you all enjoy the welcoming or the celebration the townspeople have to offer, the night of the 8th passes by, you all getting your rest, appreciating I have the hiccups. Appreciating the wonderful, warm welcome that you received. Getting up on the 9th, it is fairly early in the morning due to everyone kind of turning in pretty early the previous afternoon. When you start hearing the noises of commotion and preparation and people moving about outside the tavern and in like the main room of the tavern as well. I don't know who bunked with who and who slept on top of who, but however you find yourself waking up, Quinn, you would eventually wake up with Ava gently kind of like poking your side.
So I wake up pretty quickly, just out of habit.
Mhm.
And when I see her face, actually like roll out of my cot onto my feet and say, "Oh shit."
I'm not feeling good.
And then I look around and understand the situation for what it is. Oh, did you drink the water? I left water by your bed.
I did, but I don't think it made it worse. Is there magic something?
There probably is, but I don't know it. We'll ask the other two. The good news is it's normal, happens to everybody, and it'll go away before we get back to Mesodori.
This happens every time?
Pretty much. Varying degrees depending on how much you drink.
Why
That's what the
do you
water's
do
for.
this?
The water will help. The water will help. Also a good breakfast. Believe it
She's
or
like,
not.
turns back around to face her bed, and you can see just like turning is difficult for her as she like walks almost like a geriatric old man like back over to the like tankard of water to try and retrieve it, and is clearly not handling her alcohol well.
I'll go ask the others if they have any. I kind of doubt it, but just keep drinking the water.
In this like moment of sobriety, she like snaps her. She's like, "Don't tell Ella."
Believe me, Elwar knows. Elwar has been in this exact state at some point in his life. Don't worry about that.
But he's a hypocrite.
What?
He's a hypocrite.
Well, be that as it may, I'm not even gonna go looking for Elwar. Don't worry about that.
Go get Thomas. He's smart.
Okay. Yeah, actually, he probably knows some remedies. So I'll go hunting for Thomas to pester.
Oh. Yes.
What kind of state is Thomas in?
Similar.
My constitution is actually pretty high naturally, so I would imagine that probably. I mean, I roll whatever you need to, but I don't.
I'll let you decide how Thomas is doing.
I don't think I've got a debilitating hangover or anything. Probably a little fog, but. Yes, Quinn, can I help you?
Morning, I think.
Yes.
Is what do you know that can help the girl? She's well, you
She's
can guess.
Yeah. Um, I've got an idea. Where is she?
This way, where her bed was.
So I'll go over to Ava.
As you enter the room, she sat in the corner, almost like in a fetal position, like hugging your chest, and she's like, Thomas, I had too much milk.
Yeah. Actually, you had too much beer that tasted like delicious cocoa milk, but it's okay. I've got something that'll help. It was one of Sven's favorites. Here, do you have a tankard of water anywhere?
She's like had it like cupped to her chest, and she just like reveals it from her arm and holds it out.
So, is there anywhere for me to refill it?
I imagine you could if you need to, like run downstairs or yeah, water skin, whatever you need.
All right, Oh yeah, I probably have a water skin on me, so I'll pour out the liquid until there's about a quarter of it left, and then I cast shape water on it, and I freeze the water that's left in there, and then I pour more water on top of it, swirl it around so it gets nice and cool, and then I'll prestidigitate it a nice, refreshing mint and lime tonic, but not too heavy. Just the hints of it, kind of like that crappy water that they sell.
Maybe cucumber water.
Yeah. Here.
Okay.
Look, now, like anything, don't drink this all at once, but just sip on it, and it's nice and cool and refreshing, and most importantly, it's just water. You'll want to drink a lot of that today.
Kind of like blindly grabs the tankard and just puts it back in her little cubby that she's made. Like, all right, I'm not moving anytime soon.
Okay, you probably won't need to. Good luck.
All right. Sven and Braynoon, how do you find yourself waking up this morning?
Oh, I'm sure I woke up same time I always do. Probably just chilling downstairs, waiting for everyone up. Else, any of my group that does come down is greeted with a very loud, boisterous morning. How did you sleep?
Bang some pots together.
Yeah. I do have a pot of tea with me available for anybody. Good, strong black tea. And
Oh, thank you, Braynoon. I love hot tea. And I slept rather poorly last night. At one point, I had to use my bedpan for something other than, well, I threw up. But that's okay. I poured it in Sven's. It was already kind of full.
it's just a comment, 200 years of taking care of crafted races that can't hold their booze. And
I would say Sven's been through this before. This is no unusual amount.
It's like Tuesday for him.
Yeah, so it was a heavy amount of drinking, generally speaking. So he's probably like doing some push-ups in the room, throwing up into the bedpan, then chugging down the water back again to just work it through his system until it's bled off.
Is Sven a hair of the dog hangover person, or?
I think that might be the effect, but his mentality was just keep staying drunk. But yeah, at least a glass to push through everything. And then once he's done.
You never feel bad if you always feel bad.
And then Quinn, I imagine you're relatively intact.
I didn't overindulge in the first place, so just sort of another morning.
So as you all eventually accumulate in the common room, which seems to be empty for various reasons. LR would eventually come inside, and you would see immediately that he is a bit more well dressed than he had been. He's more put together, kind of standing a bit taller, just seems a little bit more lively than he had the past couple interactions you have had with him, and looks you all over and says, well, it appears that you all had a very entertaining evening.
Cocoa milk.
All right. I imagine you all are not quite ready for festivities. There's some music planned, but we shall hold off on that until you all are recovered.
We're perfectly recovered. There's no reason to miss that. Right, Ava? Ava?
He kind of looks a little bit worried.
Did Ava even come down?
Ava has not come down yet. Did she partake?
Oh, she got magnificently drunk.
Oh, I'll go check on her then. Well, when you all are ready, the town has gathered in the courtyard for you.
The town?
I think she would rather just have a chance to compose herself, and she'll join us when she's ready.
I'm assuming she's afraid that I'm going to be disapproving.
I couldn't speak to that. I just I have some
You've been
experience
drunk before, right?
I suppose I'll leave her be, but all right. Well, anyway, shall I tell them to hold off, or are you ready to be bombarded with our musical prowess?
Wait, just give me 2 minutes and 47 seconds. And I run to where Ava's at.
Okay. Running back up to the room, she would still be in the same position.
I'm going to. Oh yeah, go ahead.
They have the whole town's outside, and they're gonna play music, and they're gonna bombard us with festivities. I think was what he said.
Stop! Shut up! It hurts. Stop.
Oh, sorry. And I told Elwar that you got really drunk, and
Thomas, what the fuck?
what? He's been drunk before he even said so. So it's no big deal. Just don't make a habit of it like Sven, because that might end up ruining your life. And okay. Are you gonna come or not?
No, I'm okay. Enjoy it without me.
Okay. I'll let you know what happened, and you should join us as soon as you can, okay? Because it's probably gonna be a lot of fun, and there might even be more dancing.
Yes.
All right. And I'll run back down. Okay, she says she's not coming.
While Thomas is doing that, I'm gonna look at Elwar. We'll join you shortly. We have a few things to discuss first, and then we'll be out there.
All right. Well, take your time. Heroes. And then he goes to head outside.
Yep, don't like that.
I thought you were heroic.
So,
yeah.
Before we join the village, we had some brief conversations in the cave around the treasure and such, but I do think a portion of that should go back to the village to help them with rebuilding, to getting well established. Open to any thoughts on what that looks like.
Well,
I'm also gonna say that I probably moved all of the treasure up into my room at some point, and so it's not just strapped to a horse outside.
We took this contract expecting to only get what was on the contract. Why don't we just take that and give it to them? They need it more than we do. We're going to get more contracts. And obviously, some of that was theirs, and there's no way to determine what wasn't there. So the
Thomas, it
no,
said
listen,
we
it
had.
could, the worst case scenario is that all of it was theirs, and if we took any of it, then we would be stealing from them too. So why don't we just give it to them and do something good this time, son?
And I'm not disagreeing. There's plenty of copper. I mean, there was so many copper, and there's all the cups and the trinkets, which I believe they'll need those for their
You're
homes.
right. You could probably keep all the copper. It would contrast nicely with your golden scales.
No,
But
Thomas,
the gold and silver we should give to them. Look, I'll give you the scroll. You can sell it for whatever. Oh, and the
Thomas,
ring, it lets you walk on water. Here, I toss it to him. But watch out, because you might fall really quick with it. Maybe not. You should probably test that out. You are rich. They're not. And if you behave yourself, your papa will probably give you your money back.
do you really think so?
Absolutely. Why wouldn't he?
Wait, acts of charity will get me back my money.
They're divine.
What
The
an
God
insane
prosperity.
idea.
They-
Okay.
I knew you'd do the right thing, Sven. That's why I like you so much.
While I do not disagree with the sentiment and your noble efforts, there is something to be said for too large of an infusion of wealth into an area that's not ready for it. Sometimes that can lead to overspending, and after speaking with Elwar yesterday, this community is already in quite a bit of debt due to the changes that have happened around here. So I do think we need to be careful in how we proceed.
Oh, simple then. You could give them a little and find out who their creditors are and maybe pay off the debt if you wanted to do something nice without it coming back to haunt them, because whoever wasted all their money and made bad financial decisions before would probably just do the same thing again.
Well, it's not so much wasted money, it's the Glade Agreement that took away land and such from their community, and a tax collector that has not adjusted taxes for such an event.
Oh. Well, that's above my pay grade, as they say.
So,
Whatever. For my part, I don't need any of the extra money. Whatever we get will be great. I'll probably buy some spells with it, but whatever. I'm sorry.
my initial thoughts was for game mechanics question real quick before I proceed, because D&D economy is a mess. For the area, what is considered wealthy? Like, what's the $100,000 mark for this area?
Are you asking like yearly salary? What is $100,000?
I mean, no, yeah, just generally, like, at what point is someone considered set for, they don't have to worry about it versus, hey, they're making it their...
Like
for this community, if we gave them a 750 gold, what does that mean for Yevaloon at this point in time, generally speaking? Because looking around, 100 people, I'm assuming this place maybe sees 200 gold a year. Maybe. But that's my mental math.
I mean, you're not too far off. I guess the bigger consideration to kind of try and conceptualize is it's a lot of like land and equipment and like livestock and like a whole community where their day to day of like buying food and that kind of thing is relatively easy to, kind
barter
of, a huge amount, but restructuring themselves is kind of the bigger cost that they're looking at. So if you just like give them 700, that is a lot, I would say. Like giving like 10 gold pieces to one of these people is like a huge life-changing amount of wealth. So to kind of keep that all in perspective, but the actual town's finances are way heftier than like the individual populace.
Right. So, basically, in my head, what I was looking at was give them the trinkets and gems, because that's kind of like equity wealth, things that can be sold later for coinage if needed. And then basically the copper and silver coins, keeping the bars and the gold, was kind of my thought. Considering 235 silver, that's what, 23 and a half gold. 640 copper is going to be
6 more gold,
something like that.
Yeah.
Plus the couple hundred, or the other 100 or whatever they get from the equity items. So yeah, Braynu kind of explains that and is open to counter.
Can I minor illusion the actual contract?
Or you probably could have had it with you.
What it? Yeah,
Oh,
I imagine you guys would take it with you. Yeah.
No,
that's my assumption, is that we hold the contract when we leave. Like, we don't just say, okay, we're off memory.
you always
Did-
use magic if you can, even if it's not.
I do remember it saying that basically anything we recover is ours.
okay.
Essentially.
With
Well,
the
like-
cut due to the guild.
Right. Yeah, since that is part of the contract, it's part of payment for the contract. It's not something we found outside of the contract. So that's the other thing we have to look at. Anything that we take, half of that is disappearing.
Unless
Sven
you
would
don't
be
claim you
alarmed.
got paid.
After that
Right,
amount.
yes.
And
And I mean, I'd be okay even just rounding the gold pieces down to an even 150 to make math a little bit easier. Because that's still another 28 gold, which puts them... What? That's going to be like 50 gold in coinage, plus another 100 some gold in trinkets and gems.
Quinn, do you have anything on this matter? You've not spoken up yet.
So I'm not along with everything that Braided says, and whenever I'm like prompted or expected to respond, I just say it. Whatever you think is appropriate.
I mean, I have to admit, Brayden, for my particular course of studies, economics was actually an elective, and it seemed incredibly boring, and I didn't take it at all. I instead chose to delve a little deeper into potions and herbalism. So that's a short way of saying I have no idea what you just said, really, but it sounds intelligent, and I'm going to.
Well, let's do a thought experiment then. F, in your first year at the academy, someone came up and gave you 100 gold pieces to do whatever you wished with.
I would have hidden it from Sven. I'm just kidding, Sven. No, I'm probably
no,
not.
it's a good choice.
Well, I probably would have saved it, because there really wasn't anything I needed to buy. They give us everything. Like I said, we had the cafeteria, and we could eat there for free. And I mean, maybe I would have got some nicer robes, and I probably would have got nicer robes. And the room,
Dramatically gesturing to himself.
It's like lifting up the tailor.
sometimes the room didn't smell so good. So I probably would have spent a fair amount on incense over the years too. So, but I take your point, because at the end of the 4 years, the 100 gold probably would have been spent on things that ultimately were not necessary. Did I hit the mark?
For the most part. So we can agree we keep 150 gold pieces. We take let's give them one of the gold bars. So we take 1 gold bar, 1 silver bar. I'm okay not lugging all that coinage back to Messidore anyway.
Oh, every time you bring it up, you give them more.
Yep.
3 or 4
wait.
This went from, hey, we're taking 300 gold. What if we only take this?
I thought
Now,
we were
now you're
taking
seeing
all
how
the gold.
Brayden... Yeah, but then I said 150 to make the math easy. You don't want to barter with Braynoon.
No, this is dreams of wealth.
So is this the agreement the party's coming to? 150 gold
And-
pieces, 1 gold bar, 1 silver bar. And then you are giving them the gems and the trinkets?
Yes.
Alright.
And to be
So
clear,
I will.
Ben has the ring now and the scroll.
Okay.
I threw
I
him at you.
will.
No, I know that's fine.
Voice any concerns that Sven has.
No, Sven is already writing a letter addressed to his father about such generosity as to have given, as part of the group, gave what was it, over 600 gold to a ailing town, and surely the resurgence of such wealth will embolden the people.
You did the dragon. Make sure you put the dragon in there.
Oh yes, yes. Thank you, Thomas.
That
Do
one-
like a sketch of it.
So yeah, I will. I'll go upstairs and just kind of count out the 28 gold pieces, put everything else aside, and then just bring everything down with me. Kind of with the intention of making a presentation to Elwar in front of the community. Not that I don't think Elwar would let people, but I just have a general distrust for government, so.
Alright. You come back a year later, Elwar's like on a throne of platinum.
Right.
Being in the military will do that to you.
So.
Alright. So as you all kind of gather everything, Braynoon separating the wealth out, as you step outside the tavern door into the small town square of Yevaloon, the little like podium area that is in front of Elwar's residence has been turned into like a very rudimentary stage, and you can see perhaps like 5 or 6 of the townsfolk have brought out different sorts of instruments. There are stringed and woodwinds and various whatever kind of knickknacks they have around, and kind of to the tune of like a poorly trained high school band. As you make your entrance into the scene, they all start plucking up, and it's not a bad performance, but it certainly is not of any sort of standard that a respectable adventurer would find themselves in. But it's a nice show as the whole town is kind of lined up in this small collection, like facing the tavern, and there's a fair amount of like genuine cheers and clapping and a little bit of like hooting and hollering as the music tries to get louder to combat the rise of the crowd. But eventually, as you all step forward, Elwar is up by the musicians, kind of gestures gently to make them quiet down as everyone hushes. And well, everybody, I hope that you all can recognize these heroic individuals, the ones that have come and rescued us from the little creatures of the mountains. I don't think I have to go on for too long to explain the gratitude we all should have for these fine gentlemen. But let it be known that the Ember 4, yes?
Yes.
The Ember 4 is always welcome here at Yevaloon, no matter what perils they may face or we may face. They now have a friend in each and every one of us. And I hope that wealth and good fortune and renown come their way, because they certainly deserve it. And everyone begins kind of reinforcing the cheer, little claps and all the fun spectrum of noises you would expect of adoring fans, before the kind of collection of them start almost coming to surround you, pats on the back, shaking your hand, just trying to interact with the people that have more or less saved their town. I guess, Brayden, as you would present the wealth, however that transaction would go down, is there a particular way you're trying to do that?
Yeah, I'm speaking to Elwar, but I'm speaking loudly enough for kind of everyone to hear.
Mm-hmm.
As we understand that this community has been ravaged by what's occurred, that homes have been lost, crops and livestock. We would like to make this gift, and I'll just kind of take whatever bags off my shoulders and placing them at the feet of Elwar to the community as a way to rebuild and return to some sense of normalcy.
Get a very similar reply to kind of how everything has been going down. As you present them with the wealth, Elwar would kind of turn over to the gentleman that we still have not named yet that you interacted with at the tavern. We're
The
gonna
ex-bandit?
Yeah, we're gonna call him Cavell. There we go. Solid name. He would kind of duck off, kind of getting the motion from Elwar before he starts coming back around, and he is holding what looks like a buckler shield, maybe. It's metal. It has like grommets around the edge of it. There's like a bronze or maybe like golden section on the center, the like the raised handguard part that kind of bulbouses out a little bit. And there is this somewhat intricate looking emblem or embossing on the actual metal with a ruby gem set into like the forehead of whatever strange creature is being depicted in the scene. And he comes scurrying up, runs up to you, Braynoon, as you're kind of the go-between between the two parties. He's like, I snapped this off of some individual who no longer needed it quite some time ago. It's a token of our appreciation.
I give him, like, there's an appraising glance, like, knowing, given previous conversation, I know exactly what he's talking about. But then I'm just gonna, I will take it and I'll just kind of look it over as I would as a smith, just craftsmanship and all of that. I'm assuming it looks like a well-made shield.
It was well made. It hasn't been cared for in quite some time. Like the metal is very dulled, has not been shined. There's small like nicks and chips in the corner of it from being like tossed around and banged around a fair bit. But it is sturdy in construction. But he does, like, as he's handing it over, like spots a little smudge on it. He's like, it you'll like it. It's good. It's solid. Yeah. And no one's looking for it if you're worried.
I wasn't.
Ah. I guess he would just
kind of
saunter off.
And then we party.
Yeah, this is a lot less of a alcoholic fueled rager as the evening previously might have been. This is a lot more of just like unending gratitude, almost like a meet and greet of some sort, like you are some sort of actor signing people's baseball caps and whatnot. It's a lot more of just like appreciation of what you have done and kind of leading into the send-off of you having to depart. A lot of the townspeople would offer you things like small bits of food or like little pastry treats and things of that nature that are more just like nice little bits of flavor or sweetness compared to like trail rations and things of that sort. But yeah.
Are there any children there?
A handful. Eventually, Ava would come stumbling out a few hours into this process, appearing to be more or less back to her usual self. But yeah, there's maybe like 4 or 5 children kicking about.
I'll put on a little magic show for them. I'll have Mr. Sparkles run around, and I'll have sparks and rainbows coming out of him and making little odd noises. I'll make one of the kids appear to fart, and then I'll make it smell like a fart near him, and then instantly change it into like something that smells like cotton candy, and just having fun with them.
Fucking scene of Gandalf from Lord of the Rings. Gandalf! Gandalf!
and I'll give them all my pitch to tell them that they can all be wizards and sorceresses too if they want.
Oh,
they
no. All right. But as you all kind of have your parting farewell of the town of Yevaloon, everyone expressing their unending gratitude as a hero's departure has been presented to you. I imagine you all would mount up, gather your things, and depart with young Ava in tow. All right. So
Sounds
you
good.
all are leaving. This is the morning of the 9th?
Yep.
Yes. So you probably get back to Macedonia on like the 12th or the 13th. And Passover is on the 14th. So Sven, you're getting in just under the wire, sir.
That gives me one day to prepare.
But I imagine we will go ahead and take our 10-minute break here and then pick back up as you all are on the road back to Macedonia. So as you all are leaving Yevaloon, riding the high of your victory or the excessive prowess that you had in completing your contract, you spend the rest of the 9th heading eastward on the side road that leads back to that main stretch of road that is between Messidore and Umholen, the larger city up to your north. Setting camp for the night, you all are more or less just kind of still decompressing after your adventure. Ava has seemed to recover from her bender, thankfully due to Thomas's pestering about staying hydrated. Waking up on the morning of the 10th, breaking down camp, and continuing your trek eastward, you would eventually cross that main river that runs through that main valley of the Elven People. And as you are kind of descending from the elevation of the mountain ridge off to the west, you're given a pretty wide, kind of sweeping view of the landscape as you grow closer and closer to, I guess, like the center of the valley. And eventually, cresting a hill or turning a corner, you are presented with an image that is somewhat awe-inspiring. You're perhaps looking, 1 mile in either direction, kind of off to either the horizon or wherever a bend or raise in the landscape blocks your vision. And as you are looking at this meandering, snaking roadway, you can see this constant trail, almost like a line of ants, lined up perfectly in rows, going down and up the road. These large wagons pulled by multiple horses that are filled to the brim with these vibrant yellow flowers. It's a little bit difficult to discern that from this distance, but kind of going off everything you've been told, it's kind of easy to at least identify that. And around this constantly marching train, which doesn't seem to really pause, it moves much more in the like a traditional wagon trail does, where people stop when they need to stop, they pick back up when they need to pick back up, and they just continually kind of move this like slow flowing river across the landscape. Around all of these various wagons, there is a large mixture of colors. There's colorful fabric and tents and fanfare and celebration. There's music that can be heard kind of just drifting across the landscape that you're looking over. It is in itself this kind of somewhat fabulous presentation of sorts as you were watching this all take place from a distance. Ava, who I imagine, unless otherwise told not to, would always find herself on a horse due to her smaller stature, and would be absolutely thrilled at the sight of this. It has been quite some time, as far as you can conclude, that she's seen this sight, and it is something that happens yearly, but is rarely observed by people who are more focused on the mundane aspects of life. You're probably still a fair distance from the actual march itself, but you are actually able to see it at this point. But I imagine there's probably no reaction currently.
Sven will start to intently study the groups as they move through.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to find anyone who's smoking a pipe, or I assume that would be fairly prevalent, but go through and see who he might be able to find some Tanzia leaf.
All right.
That's going to be his constant eye out.
Okay. So that would be Sven's approach. What would, I guess, the rest of the party be doing as you guys approach this? Which, again, you have a little bit of time before actually getting there, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would be black-jawed at the spectacle. Just that's so far out of the norm for anything I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
That I would not have much to say. I would just be soaking it all in.
Is this specific event something unique to this region of Runathosi, or is this something that kind of happens in its own way, shape, or form kind of around the continent during Passover?
Um, I imagine with both seeing this and being in proximity to Ava, who's a bit more, I guess, invested in this actual holiday, I'll give you kind of a broader, I guess, explanation that she would offer up pretty willingly. The flowers themselves, the actual journey they take or the significance of them, is they're only grown in the very center of the valley, in the very center of the continent, where the Gravalis River, I hope I'm remembering that correctly, it's my own lore, is kind of begun by all the different streams and whatnot trickling down from the mountain ranges. And as they're harvested there, they are then brought all the way to the east during Passover. As the thread passes over each significant city, they themselves celebrate their version of Passover before it eventually gets to Messidore, and the flowers are then released out into the bay as a sign of respect for the various different rituals and religious reasons and that kind of thing. So this is more, it's almost a good analogy for our world is like the Olympic torch in some way. Like these things are being carried to their destination to then serve their purpose, and it's now kind of a sacred passage or a pilgrimage to kind of journey with these things or, enjoy them or, acknowledge the spectacle of them. So that's more or less your understanding of it.
Okay. So
so-
as a dwarf who was born on the western end of the continent,
Mhm.
this wouldn't be the sort of thing that I would have observed in my childhood.
Yeah, it probably would have been some other, maybe like
Okay.
Passover-esque, but not in this specific manner.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
And with the thread always being right there in Central City.
Yeah, this would be completely outside of your like understanding. You'd be like, oh, yeah, I guess it does pass over here. That's odd. So. Okay, so
Yeah, that's Brainu's just kind of watching things happen as there's almost a sense of nostalgia as he's thinking about how, his community and everything celebrated at Passover, but learning more about how a different community does the same.
So Sven, why don't you give me a investigation with advantage, sir?
As I notice him looking, I give him a 19.
Thank you.
What is your bonus of that, sir?
Oh, +6, so 25.
Okay. So as you all descend from your somewhat elevated position and grow closer and closer to this ever-present march, there is no like surprise of people joining in. This is just kind of like a flock of movement that people, come into and leave at any sort of given point. So you just joining into the pack is not really even noticed by the majority of people. But Sven, you are hell-bent and intent on finding some sort of relief from your dwindling incense supply. The
non-existent incense supply.
The cast of characters that you are able to see as you just join into this parade is rather colorful, to say the least. There is a whole mixture of races and different classes of people, different dresses and styles and walks of life. It is almost as interesting as the parade itself. It's like this whole variety of people that have kind of accumulated to all join in this singular pursuit. You disregard all of that in hopes of fixating on the one thing that truly matters in your mind right now. And you start looking for maybe skeevier people, shadier people, or people that know how to enjoy themselves from time to time, giving off that general air of understanding of how to relax through life. You would eventually stumble upon a small cart that's being drawn by one donkey with 4 gentlemen sat in the back. There are 2 tieflings amongst them, a dwarf and an elf, and they all are like chuckling pretty heartily. They're clearly pretty, I guess, comfortable or familiar with one another as they're like shoving each other around and kind of having this jovial demeanor. But you would instantly recognize a rather pungent odor coming from one of the pipes that they are smoking, and it would very much grab your attention.
Yeah, seeing his opportunity, I assume Sven would be winding through the crowds with the group, not just like bounding off on his own. Are y'all going through? Or you're all being more stationary.
I mean, I assumed we'd be more like riding alongside of, not necessarily in,
Mhm.
because we also do have like a large drake head Witcher 3 trophy style tied to one of the horses. So, like, kind of bums the mood of the entire thing.
Gotcha.
So,
Then yeah, noticing kind of those folks. Lads, I'm going to be right back. I need to see a man about a horse. And kind of just wind his way out over to the gentleman in the cart. And then from there, go ahead and he would activate his blade song and start kind of having the humming notes come around him and do a leap up onto the back of the cart.
Go ahead, throw me a performance check.
And he gets another 19 if I can see it.
I think that's
Performance
acceptable.
22.
22. All right. Man, I haven't rolled a dice yet this session. Give me a moment. So, as you stride through the crowd and you start to lean into the ability that you show somewhat infrequently, you eventually do your flourish, landing on the cart, this rather eye-catching display of a dragonkind landing with incredible grace grabs all of their attention as whatever joke or story being told is kind of put on pause, like the pipe like halfway to someone's mouth, as they all kind of look at you, and then one kind of nervously laughs, and then that leads to them all kind of laughing, and then the tiefling that is closest to you kind of looks back up at you. Ah, you're a fucking weird one.
And I can see you gentlemen know how to live life.
Living's about all we got, sir. Sit down. Sit down.
Sven will take a seat, and I don't have the personal capability, but I'll say he'll start throwing out some just quick jokes, some small talk to get into their graces. Before leading into the
give you persuasion.
Sven will go ahead and use his intimidating presence, and I'm going to take it, or I'm sorry, forceful presence, and take a advantage on that. God, I needed that. That's an 11.
Okay. And so your goal is to joke around with them to kind of establish a rapport?
Get him to smoke with him, and then
Mhm.
eventually attempt to buy some off of them.
You certainly don't make the best impression, though you are kind of still riding the high, no pun intended, of your entrance, as they all kind of listen to what you have to say, but very much are putting you as like an outsider to the group as they continue to kind of tell their stories. Eventually, as it kind of comes back around, the tiefling that's still kind of near to you reaches down, kind of like grabs her knee, gives it a little shake. He's like, and then I told her that she was so short, like, how on earth could you reach my height? And it had to be there. You had to be there. But, you look like, you know your stuff. You're dragon kind, right? That's, you got some meat, some hardiness on you.
Quite a bit, yes. Central City has all kinds of enjoyments to offer.
From the big city, too. Look at you. Then, you've never been through a ring of hell, have you, then?
Well, there was that one night, but no, I can't say I'm familiar with what you might be referring to.
Give me, probably history with advantage?
That's what I wanted earlier. 21.
Okay. You are kind of reading the context clues of the situation and relying on your many, many times in places that revolve around these certain enjoyments. You would know this as the Devil's Circle, where you are from. But it is a type or a process of taking a particular mixture of drugs that is rather intense. You yourself have never partaken in it, but it is supposedly rather hard to get through. But if you do, the high is somewhat alluring.
Well, my dear fellow, I am mainly looking for a little bit of Tanzia, but if I could perhaps get some of that for you, maybe a boon of the circle, maybe in order.
I haven't seen a dragonkind do one yet, so I'll make a deal with you, because I love a good story, And we're celebrating! It's almost Passover. How about, let's have you do one. Let's see how you handle it, and if you handle it well, I'll gladly let you partake in some of our, supplies.
And he steals himself and goes, "That's a rip."
So, just at the first glimmer of your acceptance, he kind of reaches down, he grabs this, like, wooden cutting board out from the seat that he's on, he puts it on his lap, he starts bringing out pouches by his belt, and he starts this very intricate process. So first, he opens up a leather pouch, ripping open the drawstring, and then gently laying out this, like, swirling, spiraling of red dust. And then after that, it's kind of just like neaten up the lines a little bit. He seals that back, puts that, grabs another one, and now this kind of like white, flaky, almost metallic substance he traces along the same pattern, ties that shut, puts it back, and he starts swirling them up and down with his finger to kind of cause this almost like metal, what the fuck is it called? Like when you do the thing through sand to create the patterns from the sway of the implement. I cannot think of... you know what I'm talking about, right?
I want to say elliptical, but I know that's not the right word. But
I know everyone
pendulum.
knows what I'm talking about. I can't think of what it's called, though.
It's some kind of pendulum thing.
Yeah, he forms this kind of like swirling up and down wavy pattern through it before then very neatly kind of making it into this cube shape. Then pulls out basically a straw of some sort or a piece of reed and offers it up to you. He's like, all right, you're going to snort half of that, and then you're going to take a deep breath, other nose, snort the other half.
And then, Sven goes down for the first half.
All right. Due to Sven's probably ungodly tolerance to drug usage, I will go ahead and give you a con save with advantage. There are going to be 2 checks, so give me the check for the first with advantage. Oh no! Oh no!
It's going to be a 5.
Oh no!
God, 2 and a 4. That is not lucky.
I don't... Would Sven then still power through the second half?
Could he? This sounds like this is a strong kick, with a con save of 5.
I think I'm going to leave it up to you before you know how the drugs fully kick in, because I think that's how it would probably play out thematically.
Well, what's the feeling? Because if it's no feeling yet...
Yeah, there's no initial kick. Like, there's the sting of it going up your nostril, but you haven't felt any sort of response yet.
Then, unfortunately, yes, he would go in for the second.
Okay, roll me for the second, then.
Me, 9. God, 2 8s.
Oh, Jesus. Don't do drugs, kids. That's PSA from Talora Tales.
No insurance fraud, no drugs.
Hey, insurance fraud, acceptable in some situations. Alright, let me... oh my god. I was honestly not expecting you to fail this.
No.
Okay. your intelligence and your strength stats swap. It's not
Really?
permanently, but
No. For how long?
well, we'll get into that.
Okay.
But for now, your intelligence and your strength are swapped. You are not proficient in any skill. You roll basically everything at disadvantage. And your initiative bonus is now -10.
Okay.
So, Sven, as you power through the first, and there's absolutely no sense that something wrong has occurred, everyone's kind of laughing. You can kind of see the eyes of two of the gentlemen kind of like waiting for this to happen, and you do the second round. As soon as you get through snorting the second and you pull the reed away, you sit up and this is fine. Nothing's happening. Can I actually ask you, sir, what are your intelligence and strength stats? So what would your intelligence be now?
It would swap to having a strength of 19 and an intelligence of 10. So I would like to think this is all right. After getting through that second one, Sven would just kind of sit there, and then not really thinking that it's hitting, all in one flash, he would basically just like stand straight up and like go on this kind of berserker yell.
So as you slam your feet down onto the floor of the wagon to actually get yourself standing, you can actually hear the wood beneath you kind of groaning and cracking from the actual power of your strike. And then you rise up to your full height, which, being a dragonkind, is pretty freaking intimidating. And then release this deep, bellowing roar that is a very draconic nature to it, as your nature leans yourself towards. And both Braynoon and Thomas, though you are fairly removed from Sven, you would instantly be drawn to this spectacle as he is just belting this unending scream into the air. And Sven, it doesn't manifest itself in any physical way, but you can see your body bulging, your robe being taut against your muscular arms, your hands becoming these large, almost like boxing glove-esque shaped fists. There is this physique forming beneath your silk that is just chiseled and defined, and you just like at any moment you can like almost manifest the sound of every stitching in your robe being burst from this impressive display of strength that you now hold.
He's just like shaking there. Oh my God, it's the power! And he's rolling around a little bit, or not rolling, but swaying back and forth there. God, with an intelligence of 10.
I guess I would ask
for the other stuff.
Does Thomas or Braynoon do anything at spotting this?
Well, we can prove that he's okay, right?
What?
Can we still see him?
Yes, you can see him.
I mean, if he's still standing upright, I'm not sure to Braynoon he sees a difference.
Yeah, I don't know if we can tell.
Okay. So, Sven, as you continue to enjoy this new absolute physical domination you now wield, the gentlemen around you begin to very much enjoy the show you were putting on, and due to your somewhat compromised insight, you very much are convinced that they are applauding your pushing through of this challenge or this trial, that they are cheering on every moment of your success, as clearly the prowess and the superiority of the dragonkind is shown, as no drug can even dilute the blood coursing through your veins, as it basically you are left to be their show for a little while.
They're laughing with you, not at you.
Exactly. Unless you have other intentions, I can begin to describe your come down.
I think on a 10 intelligence, he would still remember to ask what he came for. Would they have any for sale?
So basically, as after like the immediate showing of this begins to pass, they clearly have secured enough entertainment out of you that they are willing to part with some of their supply freely. More is just like, yeah, he's probably gonna need this after this anyway. So you would manage to secure yourself a very, small, modest amount of your particular choice, but you're still in a somewhat interesting situation.
I count on the block of incense just for mechanics. One quantity for usage. How many does this give me?
We'll go 2.
2. Okay. Micromanaging drugs in D&D. And with that, even better Sven, peak specimen of dragonkind Sven, will make his way back to the group, bidding the gentleman, farewell, gentlemen, and still like doing flexes as he's walking.
As you go up and over the side of the wagon and land back on the road, the earth shudders beneath you, the valley echoing with your might, as every single step is like a titan amongst men. You stride forward, just feeling this absolutely undeniable strength at the tip of your fingers as you come back to your companions who just are so inferior now compared to your might.
Making, Sven pulls his robe back to make his arms at Braynoon. Not much of a dwarf arm.
I think he's under the influence right now.
Of what?
I'm curious. What do Braynoon and Thomas see as far as?
So as Sven walks up, you see him swaying a little more than he should, and it's very much the combination of him thinking that he's macho striding, but not quite having the stability to manage it. So it's more like almost throwing his shoulders in this kind of lazy, groggy fashion. And when he eventually does reach you, he lifts up his arm, pulling back the sleeve, and he's not frail, but it's just Sven with, without his robe as he goes to flex a modest amount of muscles. But you can see in this kind of glaze in his eyes that he is absolutely enamored with himself. There is just this he almost can't look away from this bulging mass beside him as you are just witnessing this truly perplexing situation.
So his stat swap is more of a mind over matter type of thing?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Perfect.
So it's not that he actually has a 19 strength. He thinks he has a 19 strength.
Mechanically,
acts like he
would.
Right.
But there'd be effects. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Overcome your own limitations type of thing. Adrenaline surge. Yep. I just love that Braynoon has dropped to number 2 for strength, but I'm pretty sure moved up to number 2 for intelligence. So not knowing where Quinn's stats are, that's yeah, I just shaking my head. How is Ava reacting to this?
Ava is very amused, enjoying every moment of it, is very clearly understanding that Sven is a bit of the wild card of the group.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I just nothing can be done about it, so as long as he doesn't start a fight with somebody.
Actually bumps into a child, he's like, look where you're walking, kid.
Yeah, that's the concern level Braynoon's at. Is okay,
Mhm.
what trouble is going to come out of this.
So, Sven, you can feel free to indulge in this as much as you would and like to, but you'd have about a half an hour before this effect would begin to wear off. Um, is there anything you'd want to do in that time before I tell you the side effects?
I don't think he's really a motivated person, so he's not going to go looking for any trouble, but he will definitely be like power stepping, lunging to look at himself. In his mind, of course, this is God, his eldest brother would be so jealous because he's so muscular now. Um,
His mind right now, he's Mr. Universe.
Mhm.
oh yeah, no, this is he's like flexor, like I don't even know muscle names, like trapezius. I don't think that's a thing. But so yeah, like as he walks, he's just I don't even need magic.
So after about a half an hour of you strutting your stuff, Sven, the side effects that you are coming down with is this kind of slowly begins to move back towards center. You have 4 levels of exhaustion. Your current HP is reduced to 3.
As in, my
Not
max
your
HP
total
is
max
reduced?
HP, but you're now at 3 HP.
Okay.
And basically, the actual sensation that you would be feeling is almost as if something has been taken from you. Like if you had been like a proud parent for years and years and your child had been stolen from this world, you've now lost something truly precious. Is now like even the idea of enjoying any sort of mundane aspect of life is now this bittersweetness to you, as nothing really truly matters anymore because it's what did matter is gone.
God.
As that starts to set in, I like to think you start with like the sweats, and then it starts with the shakes. He would attempt to get onto one of the horses because I don't know if he can fit on the one that has the head and all the loot, but try and like ride in front of or behind Ava. Ava, just let me up just a moment.
Considering at level 2 exhaustion, your speed is halved.
Yeah.
So you're like weakly trying to get on the horse, just like your limbs now feeling so absolutely awful compared to the previous might that you had held. Like you get like halfway up, and then you just it's pointless. There's no reason even beyond the horse anymore. As Ava just kind of like looks down at you with an immense amount of concern before looking over at Brainy and like, help.
No, I just need a little red and probably throws up a little next to the horse. And
So you see, Raven, this is why I studied one of the first cantrips I learned, or one of the first the magic disc.
Using the disc to kind of like give Sven like a leg up onto the horse. Ava kind of tried to help. Ava's more or less gonna, steer the horse as you now basically ragdoll behind her. As you get into position, she, after a few minutes, is like, Sven, what did you do?
Getaway fairy is not blue.
Oh, okay, well, too much milk for you. And she would more or less keep you upright as you begin to like sway back and forth in the saddle. But I imagine that would put Sven out of commission for a little bit. All right.
Yeah, how long does that effect last?
Well, exhaustion, I'm assuming, is going to have to go down based
Right.
on regular. So
Mhm.
that's not great.
I'll go ahead. I'll go ahead and say that after your first long rest, the doom and gloom will fade. So tomorrow you'll be back to Sven, whatever the fuck that is. But yeah, the exhaustion will work its way out as normal, and your HP would restore after your first long rest. But at 4 levels of exhaustion, that means you're gonna have what, 1 level of exhaustion when you get back to Messidore?
Yeah.
Fabulous. That's alright.
Yeah.
I need to figure out something real quick.
Drugs don't pay, kids.
Man, I was so excited for you to succeed too, but I think failing was probably honestly just as entertaining.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, I was so unhappy with that first roll of a 2 and a 4. And I was like, fate, obviously, yes.
Mhm.
And then the double 8s after that, I was like, yeah, no, this was.
So we're gonna do a little bit of a time jump here, like a day or so. Is there anything that you all want to explore or do or ask about during that time?
I mean, are we in town or what are we doing at this point?
We're just riding alongside the flower parade.
Yeah.
So there's a whole host of things to like look into if you would like. There's performers and entertainers and shops and merchants and just general hubbub going on all the time. So
Yeah. Are there any traveling magicians or any sort of traveling arcane?
yeah, go ahead, throw me an investigation. We'll see how Thomas's social engineering works.
Investigation. That's +7. This should be great. That's a 10.
Okay.
So sorry.
You are able to find a magician, but your excitement is somewhat hampered as you realize it's not a magician, it is a sleight of hand illusionist that actual wizards and sorcerers look down upon with a great deal of scrutiny as they give the arcane arts a bad name. So basically, you could find like a street performer that does magic.
Close-up magic.
I like to think that Thomas does not have that particular view
Mm-hmm.
because he came into his schooling a little later, and as a
Mhm.
child, very much enjoyed those shows. So
Give me one moment.
It's one of those. That's why Thomas got into magic in the first place, is he saw a street performer. He's like, I want to do that.
Now you see here, kids, you gotta keep their focus on the cup. Give me one moment. Okay. Thomas, give me a flat charisma check real quick.
okay, that's a +0. This should be great. Okay, 18.
Okay. Actually, the gentleman that you stumble upon, who's doing various tricks and performances for a lot of the people, earning a few coins here and there and kind of just keeping everyone somewhat entertained, he seems to actually genuinely appreciate your interest. He can very easily recognize that you are a wizard, also due to the emblem of the university on your backpack at all times. So he was almost expecting you to like come up with this sort of snobbery, but then is kind of disarmed as you show actual insight or curiosity into what he is doing. So over the next day, as you two kind of like discuss and kind of interact and bump into one another, he eventually offers to teach you the Distort Value spell and add it into your spellbook.
The what?
Distort Value. It is a first level illusion spell.
Oh, that's awesome. Is there anything I can teach him in return?
Probably not, unless you know any illusion cantrips.
I do.
Yeah, don't you have like minor image or something?
Mm-hmm. So, in return, I could offer to teach him, especially given a day to prepare it. Where is it? Minor illusion, yeah. So I would swap out shape water for minor illusion on the next day. And would I be able to teach him that?
Yeah, I think that's certainly reasonable. Um,
And he taught me which spell?
Distort value.
Distort value. All right, I'll have to look that up.
You whatever that's like a 50 gold piece material cost, right? Usually for spells, we'll go ahead and bring that down to 10 because he's like actively helping you with it.
Okay.
But all right. Brandon, is there anything you're doing for days of time skip?
I assume that Quinn and Ava will venture off so she can kind of see things happening. For the most part, I just riding alongside. Like if anyone approaches, cordial conversation, but more concerned with getting home at the moment.
Okay. So as a day of traveling goes by, Sven, you're getting your first long rest, so being back up at full health and having one less level of exhaustion. Thomas, you're now fascinated with your new spell that you've gained the ability and kind of like working through it and kind of maneuvering the kinks to try and like really get it fixated in your mind for later usage. Ava would return with Quinn sometime around noon. Quinn kind of following in his usual like as Ava is clearly somewhat excited about something as she is holding what appears mostly to be, I guess, like a pamphlet or a brochure or a slip of paper that she is like excitedly waving in the air as she returns to you all. And I guess probably approaching Thomas first as you're kind of distractedly working in your spellbook. She's like, Thomas, guess what I found?
What?
I found the events for Passover in Messidore.
Okay, what does it start with? What are they going to do?
Oh, okay. So each family there's the big families, right? I don't know their names, but there's the families, right? Yeah.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah. So
Who cares? I can't pronounce them anyway.
they're doing, one of them is doing she's like looking at the list and it's clear that she's not used to reading, so this is a little bit of like a process for her. She's like, okay, there's one, the Companion Plaza, hosted by the Carquin family. There is the reenactment of Crimson Wings Demis, and the civilized advancement expo.
I mean, we don't have to pick. We can go to them all, right?
Well, I think, like, flips over the paper. It doesn't see like a time or date or anything. Just like, I don't know. But I know.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, the Civilized Advancement Expo sounds pretty cool. There might be like some strange and wondrous things that we could learn from there, but
She would hand you over the pamphlet at this point, and if you give it a read, a lot of the same information we provided to you. There are small descriptions of kind of what each event more or less is, or what the draw might be. The Companion Plaza, which is hosted by the Carquin family, is very much sold to be this kind of like romantic bonding, almost like masquerade party-esque thing. It's a little bit unclear, like the exact description of what that means, but it at least gives you an idea of what ballpark that's in. The reenactment of Crimson Wing's demise is hosted by the Shadowhounds family, and it depicts the glorious, heroic, and inspiring defeat of Crimson Wing by one of the Shadowhound family's prominent members, which it also claims to have one of the most brilliant and awe-inspiring illusion shows this side of Runathosi. The Civilized Advancement Expo, which is hosted by the Ralonar family, totally did not fuck that one up, is basically, as far as you can understand, a showcase of a lot of the kind of like magical technology that Central City uses fairly often in kind of day-to-day activities, but now being brought to this more fringe element of Talora. So it would probably be a lot of things that you're familiar with, or might even like kind of miss or be homesick about, condensed in this like very dense display of these technologies and this magic. So that would be the information that you gathered from that list.
Yeah, so I would excitedly relay that to Sven and Quinn and Braynon and um, so Sven, the first one sounds like, I mean, maybe you might have some fun there. It sounds like maybe there'd be women looking for romance. I have no idea, but um, the second one, guys, it's gonna have some magic. I mean, honestly, I don't normally go for plays; they're kind of boring usually. But if it has a lot of magic, that'd be pretty cool. But I'd really like to go to the expo. A lot.
Sven has his sleeves like draped over his head, and he's like just mildly casting prestidigitate to cool himself off, like keep a light chill on him. And
A
he's
handheld thing.
like just doing the little prestidigitation figures at himself a bunch, and he's just yes, Thomas, it sounds wonderful.
Oh, you'll be fine tomorrow. Don't. It's tomorrow, right?
No, you were still.
No.
It is the 11th, and it's the 14th is
Right.
Passover.
Thomas or Sven, it's gonna be 3 days from now. You're gonna be just fine.
I'm going to perish. I shan't make it to
Do you want
tomorrow.
to seek love and companionship, watch an illusion show, or do you want to go to the expo, or do you want to go to all three of them with me, Sven?
Yes, Thomas, it sounds wonderful.
So he's gonna come to all three. How about you, Brendan? What are you gonna do? Ava, do you want to go to all three?
I don't think I want to go to the companion one. That seems like that's for adults. I think.
Yeah, that's a little weird. Okay, yeah. You want to go to the other two with me?
I want to go to the reenactment. I think that sounds really cool.
Okay, sure. We'll do that one first. But then you come to the expo with me, and I'll show you all the really cool stuff that we have in Central City.
We can't miss the flower float. That's the main one. It's at the end of the day. That's what all the, and she kind of points to all the abundance of flowers that are currently in the parade. She's like, you take one and you set it off into the bay and send off like your wishes or your wants or my father told me to like things that gifts that I might want, and you send it out into the waters, and I don't really know what that does, but that's what everyone else does.
Sounds amazing. It doesn't sound like anything you could screw up either, so we'd definitely do that one too.
Yes. This is exciting.
What are you gonna wish for? You can send your float away, your little flower away, and it floats away, and you just have a wish.
Yes, the same thing I always wish for.
Honey,
I
yeah.
never be married to my betrothed.
Oh my gosh. I mean, after everything that we've been on, I mean, the danger, the uncertainty, the boredom, the grouchiness. I mean, this is amazing. I needed this.
I don't think I've never seen Messidore without Passover, but it's always very exciting. Like there's flowers and color and they do these little bursts of light in the sky. It's very exciting.
Yeah, my life was basically shades of gray and the smell of fish. So I'm with you.
Have you you're from Messid. You've seen the Dawn Tree, right? Yes.
Have we?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
Dawn Tree is the large giant oak just off the eastern coast of Messidore, and has been described previously that one of the reasons it has that name is during the dawn when the sun is first shining through the canopy, it kind of casts the city in this somewhat like rainbowy spectrum of light, kind of giving it this strange, almost ethereal presence that is somewhat awe-inspiring to those who are there. But as you kind of all discussed, well, one of the cool things that I've seen is when the thread is right overhead, it kind of gives the tree this almost what do you call it, like a circlet or a tiara or a halo or a thing. Yeah. It's beautiful. It's gonna be really cool.
Um,
Brandon, do you get excited about anything?
I do.
I think he's excited right now. That's how he shows it. You can tell he has ever the slightest twitch of his upper lip.
Are you going to enjoy Passover, Brandon?
I enjoyed it in my youth. I'll expect that I'll have no issue with it here.
You somehow say the most boring things every time I ask you something.
Heard that one from my children before.
Oh, your poor fucking children.
Ava, don't worry. If you want to have fun, I can find some folks in town.
Sven, I don't
won't
think you
need-
can even find yourself right now.
Ava, just take it from me. Sven's brand of fun. If you didn't particularly like the after effects of the chocolate or the cocoa milk, you probably wouldn't like what happens after Sven's fun.
I am pretty young, but Sven's appearance serves as all the warning that I need.
I'm glad to be of service.
You always talk about being so young, but you're substantially older than I am. How can you be that many years, but still? Wait, I mean, whatever. I probably said something wrong, but never mind. Forget I spoke.
Thomas, I am a child.
But
I-
you're 30. You said you were 36.
37.
37. That's a long time. Like, for us normal beings, at 37, you've got a job, you've got a husband or a wife, or maybe more than one. You've got responsibilities. You might even be missing like a leg or something. I saw a lot of people with wooden legs where I live.
Thomas, my first memory is at 23.
What? Weird. I used to envy elves, but
Have you not met an elf before, Thomas?
I met one on the road a few months ago. They were really nice. I think they were a lot older than you, though.
You're talking about the horse ones?
Yeah, the horse ones.
I do like
Well,
them.
what?
I like them. I think they're interesting. There was the one that I played with for quite some time. He was the one that showed me the cave.
The cave with the
Well.
kobolds.
Yeah.
I
He
also
just
think we
showed you
met
that.
them like 3 weeks ago.
Whatever.
And Thomas, everything is fluid. Well, 7 years ago when I arrived in Macedonia. Well, after we go to Macedonia, what do you guys travel, right?
We do.
Yeah.
Can I go into the glade with you?
Free will.
I thought we were dropping you off with the good Captain Kirith.
I don't know who that is. You're just gonna
Think of someone who looks like Sven, but that's where the similarities stop.
I don't particularly enjoy the idea of more strangers. You guys are strange enough.
I have no intention of leaving you with Kerith, though he is commander of the Green Hoods, and I did intend to make an introduction.
Well, after the introduction, can I come with you?
Excuse me.
I hate this so much. Don't want to adopt an NPC.
Of course you can, Ava. Why wouldn't you be welcome with us?
And Thomas, the good guild master, will probably have something to say.
Yes, he probably would. I mean, we are an actual band of adventurers, and we go out on contracts. So,
Well, that's what I did. I did that with you. So I'm deputized.
you're not deputized. You were helpful to us in the moment, but for the official verdict on that, you would have to talk to Camus, and he more than likely will tell you no, and he'll probably tell you that you would have to go through proper channels and become a member of the guild, and then you would be assigned a post, which more than likely would not be ours.
Is Camus like Braynoon?
He's like him, only if it's possible, grumpier.
Fuck.
He's also a dwarf, not a dwarf.
Yeah, so maybe he might have a soft spot for you being an elf, but he might have a hard spot because he's a elf.
Okay, well maybe I won't travel with you. But what if I just travel by myself?
What if she apprentices under the good Ayla?
Ava's my name.
No,
there's an Ayla. And Ayla could potentially need help. Look, it's a question that we can't answer for you, but the answer lies in Isadore. So feel free to ask. That's part of being an adult, is you get to make your own decisions, but sometimes the answer to your questions is...
But she's not an adult.
She's 37.
And I lived with my parents until I was 50.
You more than likely could have done just fine at 37.
Thomas, you seem to
You
forget
didn't know me at 37.
I'm 75, Thomas.
Yeah, see?
See?
Well, right, that didn't exactly prove my point. I like to think that in 2 years' time, though, Sven might mature a lot, with life experiences and all.
Well, if
How
this
long,
red,
how long have you known Sven?
About 5 years now. A little more than 4, a little less than 5. And I can tell you, he's matured remarkably in the last 4 years. Haven't you, Sven?
so good.
Actively recovering from the worst hangover in his life. Oh, shit, I almost forgot. Ava starts digging in her
Oh,
pocket.
jeez.
Pulls out a letter. She's like, this is, the letter that Elwa wrote.
Give it to the grumpy one. He'll take it.
So is Camus like your parents?
He's our boss.
It's much worse.
Well, I'll just have to figure out how to...
We're contractually obligated to do what he says.
But I'm not.
And you want my advice? Don't take no for an answer.
I like you, Thomas. I like you a lot more than I initially liked you.
I like you the same as I liked you when I first met you.
Good,
Which
I'm
is a
very
lot.
likable.
You were.
I'm just envisioning Braynoon like walking up, just doing this the entire time.
No,
Just
I'm
the
loving-
amount of ruining of this poor girl's future.
Oh my gosh.
I loved picturing, like, you didn't know me when I was 37. Picturing Braynoon just, like, throwing back beers.
I mean, had to find the limit of Dwarven Constitution, so...
So this is where the DM will reveal his sleeve. That's about all I got until we teleport to Messidori, unless there was anything else you all wanted to discuss. But, or any other inner character conversations that needed to be held.
Some minor logistics of talking to Sven about
Mm-hmm.
the spell and who should, Sven, I think that as dramatic and as imaginative as you are, it would probably be more suited to your arsenal than mine.
Oh, the scroll.
Yes, major illusion.
Ah, yes. Well, I I've tended to stick more towards battle spells, but having a little bit to distract was quite advantageous, I think.
It is. And to be fair, in all the battles, you've done very little battling with your sword.
Well, yes, I don't want to get close.
Right, that's kind of the point. Or lack thereof.
Ah, Thomas, this is why I've enjoyed your company for the past 5 years.
Hmm.
Um, yes, if you're fine with it, I'm happy to do so. I shall have to wait until we finish the job, but once we get the materials, yes, I'll make sure to keep it safe, though.
Actual mechanical question here. Major Image is a 3rd level spell. Can you copy spells that are outside of your casting range?
Probably not.
I don't see why you couldn't. You just couldn't.
Yeah, I think you
cast
can.
It.
You just can't use it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the because you could come into possession of a spell book that was
Has higher level spells than you. Yeah, like I think you could copy it over. You just wouldn't be able to cast it. But if you keep it as a scroll, you'd be able to cast the scroll.
Mhm.
So
I'm gonna double check it, but
don't have
for
to
the
solve it
time
now.
being,
But yeah.
oh yeah, for the time being, I don't think he has the materials
Mhm.
to do that at the moment.
it's nothing that's pressing.
Okay.
I mean, we're probably at least within 6 months of leveling up to level 3. So it's
Shut the fuck up.
You can add it to your spell book if it is a spell level you can prepare.
Okay.
Oh,
Then
okay.
it'll stay.
As a scroll for now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, we have
Um,
a storeroom back at the guild house that
It's
just
slightly
got overhauled.
organized, and I've been waiting to reveal that map for so long now.
Oh, that's true.
Thomas, I'm imagining you have no intention of mentioning the thing, if you know what I'm referring to.
No, I think I alluded to it earlier.
Yeah,
Sure,
but I
we
didn't
can-
know if you wanted to. I'm not saying you have to.
Yeah, it's not a secret.
Okay.
So, gentlemen and lady, I feel
Woman.
bad. I just wasn't. But
Nah,
huh?
just keep going.
Oh, yeah. So, I cast detect magic like I normally do, and in Lensa's house, uh, something was glowing, and at first I thought it was the ring that I put on her finger, but it wasn't. It was this journal. And long story short, it's one of a pair of journals where if somebody writes in one, it appears in this one. And you can't write anything in it that goes back. So it's only a one-way line of communication. And I'd be happy to read it to you if you like, but the nuts and bolts of it are that Lensa was romantically involved with her husband's brother, Gelvek. Um, and their son um,
Need
was,
a name?
yeah, I can't, the son of the man, I can't remember his name without.
Theo was her husband. Neldon was her son.
So Theo and Lensa's son was actually conceived by Theo's brother Gelvek. And they had a secret relationship, and he wanted to make his feelings known. And anyway, the last entry seemed to indicate that he was on the cusp of doing that. And I don't think he knows that she's dead. So you're welcome to read it. It's just a couple of love notes, more or less. But if we found Gelvik on our travels, I'd like to give it to him because, as far as I can tell, the journal really doesn't have any use to us. and it might have some meaning to him.
A little point of order is Thomas. Probably Brandon as well. Everybody, Quinn as well. Everyone would be aware of this. Sorry. The kind of common name for this item is called a drop journal. In university, it's used often to cheat. There are magical ways of preventing that. I guess probably in Quinn's line of work, it could be used as a way of communicating with his various contacts and networks and whatnot. And I guess, Brandon, you would just have kind of passing knowledge of this kind of tool. But yeah, it is a one-way kind of like radio journal where someone can write in theirs and then have it appear in the other. So that is the item that you all are in possession of.
And that's why I was insistent that she probably didn't want to be buried next to Theo. She seemed to be a little more enamored with Gelvik.
I assume something similar would have been used in the Navy, just coordinating ship movements and stuff. Anyway. And just to confirm, you have the receiving journal, not the sending journal.
Yep, this one right here.
Okay.
You can have it.
You're welcome to hold on to it.
Okay.
Ava kind of like, can I read it?
No.
Why not?
Sorry, it was personal, and I only
You
brought
read
it up
it?
because I did.
And she's dead.
You're a child.
I'm 37.
No, you are a child. Thomas, you should give it to me to read. I'm curious how salacious the details are.
I will hold on to the journal for the time being.
Party pooper.
Yes, I poop at parties. Next.
Don't know why you brought it up if you weren't going to let me read it.
Because I'd like to keep on the lookout for this gentleman, Gelvik, and I felt bad for keeping a secret for so long, even though I didn't do it with any ill intent.
Do we know what he looks like?
He probably looks like a Gelvik.
Not a very common name.
I've never heard it.
Well, if we have to travel to find him, I'm in.
For my part, you're welcome to travel with me. But for the group's part, that's not my call.
That's okay. I'm warming up on Brandon.
Not my call either.
Aren't you the leader guy?
And Camus is our leader.
What is Camus like?
He's...
We just had this conversation.
Did you hit your head or something?
No, what does Camus enjoy?
Oh,
From
Drinking.
what I've seen so far, being left alone.
yeah. Probably
Shit.
not being bothered.
I'm not good at that.
I've noticed.
Well,
Don't worry. That's a problem for another day. We have Passover to celebrate.
true. All right, let's go.
What would be a dragonkind celebration for Passover? With them being so law and order and like
Yeah.
keeping everything with the peace, I feel like they would have more of a like
Almost
celebration of
military-esque
rules.
celebration.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's all the knights of like, thus we will put down those who, and it's just more of like a recital of vows and
Mhm. Well, so Passover is more or less like New Year's for each respective place, except obviously Central City, which is constantly
Right,
under
yeah.
the gaze of the Eternal Thread. So yeah, it is an interesting question to like how each culture, celebrates that, but there are even subcultures within that. So as far as your sect or your subculture of Dragonkind, I would picture it to be this kind of respectful, honorable kind of like in memory of or what our purpose is kind of mentality, where the Passover that you're about to go into is a lot more of like a celebration of life and like accomplishments and like the future, which is a kind of different shift in tone.
To Dragonkind, it's more Thanksgiving than New Year type of thing.
Dragonkind is like Veterans Day is what I would kind of
Okay.
align it with a little bit.
More of a duty to attend than it
Mhm.
is a fun event to
It would
attend.
seem like since Passover is celebrating the thread passing over the area it's in, it seemed like it would just be a more regional thing. Like
Oh,
because there
absolutely.
would be
I mean,
a mix of all races living in Macedonia and a mix of all races living in, wherever else.
Mhm.
yeah,
I
but each continent kind of has their whole
Predominant, yeah.
core, that shaped everything. So
But yeah, like
I mean-
even everyone across our world celebrates New Year's in a different way. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, I guess like 1201.
But yeah, I think we will go ahead and do a little soft ending there, and we'll pick up in Messidore next week and see what fucking shenanigans you all can get into during Passover.
So just before we end,
Hmm.
so since just let me ask you one quick question. So with that vision that Thomas had with his eyes closed,
Hmm.
it was of like flames, right?
Yes, I mean, in the respect of what Thomas can physically comprehend, yes.
So kind of on a certainly like when there's a campfire set up but anytime he sees an open flame and has the occasion to take a moment going forward, trying to recreate that, like trying to remember that dream that was just out of grasp,
Hmm.
like he'll stare at the flames and then close his eyes, envisioning that, seeing if he can uh, that's all he can think to do at this point, but just kind of
Yeah.
passively going along, I'll be doing that.
Kind of having that spark ignited. Now is it like that itch that you want to like dig into again?
Yeah.